Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, and welcome to Command Power, the show in which we discuss all things Magic the Gathering with a focus on Commander.
And welcome to another episode of our Card Spotlight series in which I highlight a card that I think should see more play in Commander. But before that, just a quick reminder to click subscribe if you enjoy my videos. We're well on our way to 1 million subscribers and your support means everything to me. And today we're going to be talking about the card Up the Beanstalk. But before that, very quickly, let me apologize for the lack of videos over the last few days. I've had some minor surgery and I'm still recovering, so I decided to take a bit of time off and get myself better before I felt up to recording. Tomorrow I will be uploading a new deck tag, and thank you for bearing with me. Anyway, Up the Beanstalk is an enchantment for 1 colorless and 1 green that says when Up the Beanstalk enters the battlefield and whenever you cast a spell with mana value 5 or greater, draw a card. Now there has been a lot of talk about this card in older formats, and it already seems to be dominating in modern and in even older formats than that, because I think this card actually has a crazy amount of potential, particularly with certain mechanics. Not as much has been said about it in Commander, but honestly I think this card is absolutely nuts in Commander as well, and the reason for that really is that unlike most of these effects in the past, it cantrips when it enters the battlefield. That means that there's virtually no opportunity cost to running this in your deck. If you draw it and you don't have any other enabler yet, you just play it out and draw a card for your trouble. You've basically not gone down any cards, and you now have an engine in play that's going to potentially draw you a ton more cards. So there are a bunch of mechanics in Commander that work extremely well with this. There's any Commander that is centered around Cascade, such as Emoti, one of my favorite commanders. She's absolutely insane with this because in that deck in particular, you're playing a lot of high value spells that you're going to be cascading into and playing for free. That's still going to trigger this. It's also going to be very, very good in any deck that is looking to play creatures for cheaper than they would normally cost. For example, Evoke cards, which is what this is mainly comboing with in older formats, are very, very good because you just get to pay them for very cheap or much cheaper than they would normally be anyway, and you're still going to be drawing the card of this because it's only going to check the mana value that's printed on the card and not what you actually paid for it unless it's an X spell. Because of that, again, Henzi Toolbox Story, which I bring up a lot, really will love this card, seeing as most of your creatures are going to cost 5 or more originally, but they're going to get discounted by Henzi. That means that even though you're paying the discounted price, you're still drawing a card on each creature you play with this out, which is very, very crazy. Another mechanic that this is going to work very well with is something like Suspend, which is also getting a variation in the new Doctor Who series that's coming up. Time counters work very well with this because those kind of spells usually have very expensive costs but are massively discounted if you suspend them, so it's going to work really nicely, though you will have to have a little bit of a delay before you get to draw your cards with Up the Beanstalk. Moving on from those, there's even more mechanics that this works really well with. Anything that basically has an alternate casting cost or that can be discounted works very well. So any card with Dash, for example, where you're playing it for much cheaper than it would normally be. Affinity cards are also very good with this, seeing as they're going to cost a lot less based on how many artifacts or other types you have on the board. All of these mechanics just synergize so well with this card, and it's going to draw so many cards over the course of the game. Honestly, it might even be something that people learn to start removing on site because it's such a great card draw engine. If they just leave it alone, it can just draw so many cards over the course of a game, but it also kind of feels bad using one of your precious spot removal spells on a card that's already cantripped or drawn a bunch of cards by virtue of just existing. It's honestly a very push design at only 2 mana, and it's definitely one of the strongest cards from the Wilds of Eldraine set, and I'm really excited to slot it into a bunch of different decks and see how it performs. So there you have it. Those have been my thoughts on this new spoiler. What do you think about this card? Please let me know in the comment section below. I read all comments and respond to all of them too. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to click like or subscribe. It really helps the channel, and until next time, take care. Woo!